Ava Collins wasn't the type of person people paid attention to. She wasn't loud, flashy, or someone who demanded space when she walked into a room. She was just there. Quiet, steady, the girl behind the grocery store. Counter who scanned groceries. Faster than people. Processed their own thoughts. Every morning, before most of the city woke up, she'd throw on her faded jeans, her black work shirt, and that green apron with the name tag that read Ava C. The C wasn't even needed. Nobody else working there shared her name. But corporate loved labels, even when the world didn't. She clocked in, tied her hair up into a loose, messy bun, and got ready for another predictable day. Same routine, same customers, same jokes she'd already heard 50 times. Wow, inflation's wild, huh? You guys got discounts for good looks? I swear this place raises prices every week. She'd smile, nod, say, have a good one, and keep it moving. But every now and then, something strange slipped through the cracks of normal life. Something Ava tried hard to ignore. Like how last Tuesday an older woman dropped a jar of pasta sauce and glass flew everywhere. People gasped, flinched, even jumped away. But Ava didn't. Her body moved before her brain did. Her reflexes were faster, way faster. She caught 3 shards midair like it was nothing. The woman blinked at her like she'd seen magic. Ava brushed it off and said maybe adrenaline kicked in, but even she didn't fully believe herself. Ava wasn't normal. She'd always known that, she just didn't know how. Sometimes she'd wake up in the middle of the night with dreams that didn't feel like dreams. A palace made of silver stone, stars moving like they were alive, soldiers kneeling. A lullaby sung in a language she shouldn't understand, but somehow did. And then there was the birthmark, sharp lines, a crest-like symbol on her wrist. Not a cute shape, not a coincidence. It looked like a seal. Almost royal. People would ask if it was a tattoo, and she'd just shrug. She didn't have answers, only questions. That morning, everything felt slightly off the moment she stepped into the store. The lights hummed a little louder. The air felt heavier. And people she'd never seen before walked past her aisle slower, as if studying her. At first, she brushed it off. Maybe she was tired. Maybe it was nothing. Then around noon, a tall man in a long dark coat stepped into her lane. His presence wasn't loud, but it demanded attention anyway. His posture was straight, his face unreadable. And his eyes, they weren't just staring at her. They were analyzing her, like she was some long-lost answer to a question he'd been carrying his whole life. He didn't put groceries on the register, didn't pull out a wallet, didn't even blink. He just stood there. Ava swallowed hard and tried to keep it professional. Hi, do you need help finding something? He didn't reply, not immediately. Instead, he lowered his head slightly like someone paying respect. Or acknowledging status. Then, in a voice way too calm for the moment, he said, Forgive me, Your Highness. It took longer to locate you than expected. Ava froze. Her heart didn't just skip, it dropped. Her brain scrambled for any logical explanation. A prank? A hidden camera show? Someone who got the wrong person? She forced a tight laugh. Yeah, okay, buddy. Wrong line. Starbucks is across the street. But he didn't laugh. His gaze stayed locked onto her, steady, certain. Almost relieved, a chill ran down her spine. Before she could speak again, he leaned in just slightly and whispered, We've been searching for you since the day you vanished from the royal fleet. Ava's grip on the register loosened. Her breath caught in her throat. Something deep inside her, something quiet and forgotten, stirred. Not fear, recognition. The man straightened, his expression solemn and unwavering. Princess Avaloria, he murmured softly, your kingdom is waiting. And just like that, the life she knew, her simple, unnoticed, ordinary existence, shattered. Because somewhere in her bones, in that same place where strange dreams lived and impossible instincts slept. She knew he wasn't lying. Ava stood frozen, staring at the man like he'd spoken another language. The store noise faded, the checkout beeps, the chatter, the background music, all of it slipped, away until there was just her heartbeat, thudding in her ears and this stranger standing in front of her like he'd known her forever. She stepped back slow, her voice shaky but trying to stay tough. Look, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not a princess. I work here. I bag groceries and argue with coupon machines. So whatever game you're playing, pick someone else. The man didn't budge, didn't flinch. He simply bowed his head once more, and that small gesture felt ancient, respectful, like something from another era. "My name is Sir Rowan Steele," he said quietly. "I'm sworn to you by oath and blood, and I've waited 17 years to find you." Ava shook her head fast, laughing in disbelief. Because laughing was easier than panicking. "Yeah, okay, well, good luck with that oath. Rowan, I have 40 people in line and a break in 10 minutes, so..." Before she could finish, her manager, Brian, the guy who took his job way too seriously, stormed over with his usual annoyed face. "Is there a problem here?" Rowan didn't even look at him. His focus never left Ava. Brian snapped again, louder this time. "Sir, if you don't have items to check out, you need to leave." Rowan finally turned, and the icy calm in his voice could have cut glass. "You will address your princess with respect." A few customers chuckled. A teenage boy in line whispered, "Yo, is this dude LARPing?" Someone else took out their phone to record, because of course they did. Ava felt heat rush to her cheeks. Embarrassment, confusion, fear. All of it mixed into something she couldn't name. "Rowan," she whispered sharply, "stop. Whatever this is, you're making it worse." But instead of backing off, Rowan reached into his coat, slow, controlled, careful, and pulled out something wrapped in dark velvet. Ava's breath hitched, because even before he unwrapped it, she felt something. Something pull inside her chest like a forgotten memory tapping on a locked door. When the cloth fell away, the object inside wasn't flashy. No glitter, no jewels, just a small, dark metal crest carved with the exact same symbol she had on her wrist. Ava blinked. Once, twice. Her stomach dropped. She didn't even realize. She was stepping forward until her fingers touched the crest, not shaking from fear anymore, but something else. Recognition. The metal was cool, but the instant she touched it, a shock, warm and electric, shot through her like lightning, waking up every nerve. The lights in the store flickered. Customers gasped. Brian stumbled back. Rowan whispered like he had just witnessed destiny unfold. "It responds only to royal blood." Ava snatched her hand away like the thing burned her. No, that doesn't mean anything. There's a scientific explanation. Static electricity, coincidence, something." Rowan met her eyes, not harsh, not pushy, just deeply sincere. "You were taken as a child," he said softly. "Hidden, meant to be protected. But the world forgot, and so did you." Ava shook her head again, slower this time. "I don't have a kingdom. I have rent, and student loans, and a boss who docks my hours if I'm 2 minutes late." Rowan stepped closer, not threatening, just steady. "A kingdom doesn't need perfection," he murmured. "It needs its rightful heir." For a moment, silence wrapped around them. And then, to Ava's horror, her eyes began to sting. Not because she believed him, not yet, but because a tiny voice in her chest whispered the most dangerous question of all. What if he's telling the truth? Ava didn't go back to work after that. Her hands were shaking too much, and her chest felt tight like she'd sprinted a mile. Brian tried to lecture her, but she didn't even process half the words coming out of his mouth. All she heard was, "Princess, kingdom. We've been searching for you." It sounded crazy, absolutely insane. Yet somehow, her mind wouldn't stop replaying. Rowan's voice like it triggered something buried deep inside. Rowan stayed nearby but didn't crowd her. He waited patiently, hands behind his back, like someone trained to never rush a royal decision. When Ava finally found her voice again, she whispered, "Why now? Why show up after all these years?" Rowan's expression softened, not pity, but understanding. "Because the world shifted," he said quietly. "Your kingdom is no longer safe. Forces are rising, powers that want the throne. Without the rightful heir, everything falls apart." Ava rubbed her forehead, pacing like she was trying to outrun reality. "I don't have a kingdom," she muttered. "I have a studio apartment with a leaking faucet and a landlord who ignores every text I send." Rowan didn't laugh, didn't mock. He simply said, "And yet every night you dream of a silver palace." Ava froze. Her throat tightened. She hadn't told anyone that, not her co-workers, not the few friends she had, not even a therapist she considered seeing once. "How do you know about that?" she whispered. Rowan reached into his coat again, slower this time, not for drama, just caution. He pulled out an old photograph. Ava hesitated, then took it, and her breath stopped. It was a little girl, maybe 3 or 4. Curly hair, bright eyes, wearing an elegant dress and a small crown, not cheap plastic but real metal. The child was smiling, holding a stuffed wolf toy. Ava had seen 1,000 times in dreams, but never in real life. And on the girl's wrist, that same crest. Ava lifted her own wrist slowly, comparing the mark. A perfect match. The world tilted. Her knees almost buckled. And Rowan stepped forward. Just enough to catch her if she fell, but not enough to make her feel trapped. Ava whisper laughed, quiet, shaky. The type of laugh people make when they're 1 second away from crying. This can't be real. Rowan spoke gently, like someone explaining truth to a scared child. When you disappeared, your kingdom mourned. The royal fleet searched for years. Every ally, every border, every clue was chased. But you vanished without a trace. Ava swallowed, voice barely audible. How? Rowan cleared his throat. There was betrayal inside the palace. Someone attempted to seize power. To protect you, loyal guards smuggled you out. But the escape was rushed, chaotic. You were separated and lost. Ava stared at the photo again. And suddenly, like a dam cracking, memories started bleeding through. Not clear, not sharp, but familiar. A deep voice calling her name. A lullaby echoing through marble halls. A warm hand guiding her through gardens filled with glowing flowers. A crown. A ceremony. A warning. Run! Her breath quickened, and she pressed her hand against her chest. Rowan nodded, noticing the change. You remember? He whispered. Not fully. Just pieces. Her voice trembled. It feels like someone ripped pages out of my life. That's exactly what happened. Your memories were hidden for protection. But the seal weakens with time, and now it's breaking. Ava stared at Rowan, really stared. His posture, his tone, his loyalty. Nothing about him felt fake. Finally, she asked the question that had been clawing inside her since he appeared. What do you want from me? Rowan didn't hesitate. We don't want anything from you. Then his voice lowered, heavy with meaning. We need you. Ava closed her eyes. Princess, kingdom, war, danger, and her? Just a cashier who clocked into life 1 shift at a time. Except, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she never was. A long silence hung between them before Rowan added, softer than ever. Your people believe you're dead. But if you return, you give them hope. Ava opened her eyes slowly. And for the first time since this started, she didn't say no. Ava sat in her tiny studio apartment later that evening, staring at the photo Rowan gave her. The place suddenly felt even smaller than usual, like the walls were closing in around a truth she could no longer ignore. Her fridge hummed loudly, a reminder she was still in the normal world. Or at least she had been until today. Her phone buzzed with notifications from co-workers. Yo, what happened? That dude was weird. You quitting or coming back tomorrow? LOL, Princess Ava. She locked her screen and set the phone face down. For the first time in years, her life felt too small for her. Rowan sat across from her, perfectly still, as if even breathing too loud might push her decision. He didn't explore the room or ask questions, just waited, patient and unwavering. Finally, Ava broke the silence. So, if I go with you, what then? I'm suddenly royalty? People just bow or whatever because you say so? Rowan shook his head gently. No, they bow because you are their rightful heir. But reclaiming the throne won't be simple. There are people who don't want you back. Ava exhaled slowly. Yeah, see? That right there sounds like the part where someone gets assassinated. He didn't deny it. And somehow, the honesty made her trust him more. She leaned back, staring at the ceiling as she spoke. My whole life I've felt like there was something missing. Like I was walking around with half a story. Nobody else understands that feeling. You ever wake up and feel like you're supposed to be somewhere else? Doing something else. But you don't know what it is? Rowan nodded once. That feeling isn't confusion. It's memory trying to surface. Ava rubbed her palms together. And what if I'm not enough? What if I'm not the princess you think I am? Rowan didn't sugarcoat it. Then we train you until you are. That answer made her laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was real. Ava stood and walked to her bathroom mirror, staring at her reflection. Same girl, same tired eyes, same messy bun and cheap drugstore makeup. But now, she looked at herself differently. Not as someone small, not as someone invisible, but someone who'd been hiding from a story that was waiting for her. She lifted her wrist, tracing her birthmark slowly. This symbol, what does it stand for? She asked. Rowan rose from his seat, his voice low and reverent. It's the crest of Solara. It marks a ruler chosen not just by lineage, but by destiny. Destiny, a word Ava always rolled her eyes at. Now, it felt heavy, real. She walked back to Rowan, heart pounding. What happens if I say yes? We leave tonight, quietly, safely. You'll go through training, meet your council, and be formally announced to the world when prepared. And if I say no, Rowan's answer came softer. Your enemies will still find you. The throne will still be targeted. You'll still be hunted. So either way, her life had already changed. There was no going back to loading grocery bags and pretending her dreams were just dreams. Silence filled the room again. But this time it wasn't confusion. It was decision forming. After what felt like forever, Ava whispered, I don't know if I'm ready. Rowan bowed his head calmly. No leader in history has ever felt ready. Ava closed her eyes. She saw the palace again. The silver halls, the glowing gardens. The lullaby. Not imagination. Memory. She opened her eyes with a steady breath. Okay, she said softly. Take me home. Rowan's expression didn't crack into a smile. But his eyes held something warm, relief, respect. He extended his hand. Ava hesitated for just 1 second before placing hers in his. And for the first time in years, maybe ever, she felt like she wasn't stepping into chaos. She was stepping into her purpose. As they walked out into the night, leaving behind the life she'd always known, Rowan whispered, The kingdom will rise again, because its princess has finally returned. The night sky felt heavier as Ava followed Rowan through the quiet streets. Every step away from her old life felt unreal, like walking out of a dream she'd lived in too long without realizing it. The city lights flickered behind her, warm and familiar. Groceries, bills, work shifts, late nights, all of it fading into the background as if that chapter was never meant to be permanent. Rowan led her to a sleek black car parked in an alley, not flashy, just discreet. The back door opened on its own, like some invisible hand invited her in. Ava paused, hand resting on the door, heart pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. This is it, she whispered to herself. Not fear, maybe destiny. She slid into the seat, and the door closed softly behind her. The inside smelled like leather and something faintly floral, oddly comforting. Rowan took the seat beside her, nodding to the driver, who didn't speak and didn't need instructions. As the car moved, the world outside shifted. Skyscrapers gave way to quieter streets, then to empty roads, then to forest, the kind of area nobody casually drives through at night. Ava watched the trees blur past and finally asked, How far is my... She stopped, swallowing the word. Home. The word felt strange in her mouth. Rowan answered softly, Closer than you think. After an hour, the car stopped near what looked like a cliff overlooking nothing but darkness. Ava frowned. This is it? Rowan didn't answer with words. Instead, he placed the crest she touched earlier on a stone pedestal hidden beneath vines. The ground vibrated. The air shifted. And the cliff opened. A massive stone door slid apart, revealing a hidden passageway lit with a soft blue glow. Like starlight frozen in crystal, Ava's breath caught. This is real, she whispered. Rowan gave a small nod, not proud, just relieved. Inside the passage, the walls shimmered with symbols, the same crest repeated over and over, glowing faintly as she walked past. It felt like the stones themselves recognized her. When they reached the end, the tunnel opened into a breathtaking scene, a hidden valley, untouched and ancient. Towers rose from silverstone architecture, bridges arched across waterfalls, and shimmering lights floated in the air like stars brought down to earth. It wasn't modern. It wasn't man-made. It was magical. Ava just stared, unable to move. That place, she whispered, voice trembling. Rowan answered gently, The kingdom of Solara. And before she could process it, figures began appearing. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Men, women, elders, young children, all dressed in elegant clothing with the same crest, embroidered somewhere on their attire. They didn't speak. They didn't rush her. They simply knelt. One synchronized motion, one wave of reverence. Ava's throat tightened instantly. I don't understand. Rowan stepped forward, voice echoing through the valley like a vow. People of Solara, he announced. Your princess, Avaloria Solara, has returned. A hush fell over the crowd. Then a soft hum rose, almost like a lullaby. Ava felt her eyes sting, tears building, not from fear or pressure, but from something deeper, belonging. A woman stepped forward, older, with silver hair braided down her back and eyes full of warmth and heartbreak. My child, she whispered. Ava felt something pull inside her chest, a memory rushing back like a tidal wave. She knew that voice. She knew that face. She had seen it in dreams, or memories disguised as dreams. Mother? Ava choked out. The woman didn't hesitate. She pulled Ava into her arms, holding her like she had waited her entire lifetime to feel her daughter breathe. My lost child, her mother murmured, voice breaking. You survived, Ava cried, silently at first, then openly, as the kingdom watched with soft eyes and hope that had lived in silence for years. Her mother cupped her cheek, wiping tears gently. You are home. Ava nodded slowly, her voice weak but steady. No, she said, lifting her chin a little higher. I'm not just home. I'm ready. The crowd began to rise one by one, faces lifting with renewed strength and belief. Rowan stood behind her, proud, protective, loyal. The queen placed a hand over Ava's crest and whispered, Then let the kingdom rise again. Ava took a breath. Not the breath of a cashier or a forgotten child, but the breath of someone who finally stepped into who she was meant to be. Princess, heir, leader. And just like that, her new story began.